What's going on, guys? It's Dominic here. Today I'm going to be talking about what is state, what is the useState hook in React, and how we can utilize that in our React apps. First of all, before we get into that, I want to go over what state is in general outside of React. Um, Basically, I like to describe state as a way of keeping track of information that's needed for our UI. So throughout our UI, we might have an area where we display our user's name. We could hold that in state, and that way throughout our app, we can display their name multiple times and keep that up to date. If they change their name, it'll update the new name. In this example that I'm going to be showing you today, we're doing a counter. So we have a number for our account, and we want to display that count to our user, and we're going to be able to subtract and add to that count and display the new count in our UI. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. This is my React app right now. It's just a single function of state tutorial. And what I have here is a minus button, a plus button, and I have our count, which is currently at 0. First thing we need to do here is we need to import React, or import useState from React. It's going to look just like that. And next we need to actually use the React hook of useState. So this is a demo of the useState hook. Basically how it works is when you call the useState hook, it returns an array with 2 items in it. Those 2 items are the current state, and the second item is the state setter function. So it's going to look just like this. We're going to use destructuring, so it's going to be const and then square brackets, whatever you're keeping track of. So in this case, it's count. And then second is your state setter function. So it's kind of the norm to use set count, set name, whatever your state is, you just want to add set in front of it. Then we're going to set that equal to useState, like you're calling a function, and inside that is your default state value. So in this example, I want our state when the app is loaded to be set to 0. So we're going to put 0 into that useState default value, and that's going to set our state to 0 whenever the app is loaded. You can set this to lots of different things like booleans, numbers, strings, empty strings, arrays, whatever is needed. You can hold that value pretty much inside your state. But for this, we just have a number and it's going to be 0. So let's go back to our app here. And instead of having this hard-coded value of 0, we want to read from state. So exactly how I just showed you in that example, we have count and we have set count. And that's going to be equal to useState, which is already imported, and 0. So if we go into our app now, we have the 0 still, but that's still from the hard code. So instead of having that hard coded, let's go ahead and enter JavaScript mode, and let's just add our count. And now you can see we still have 0 here. It's not hard coded. It's looking at our state, which is currently set to 0 right here. And if you have the React DevTools, I highly suggest them. Go into them, and you can see in the hooks area, we have a state of 0. And if we were just to change this to like 100, our app is going to refresh. It's going to re-render the component. And in our state here, you can see it's currently set to 100. So that's awesome. Our state is linked up into our UI, exactly how we would want to use state. But now we want these buttons to be able to subtract and add to this number. So there's really 2 ways to do this. One way is to use like an on click, and then you can do a callback function. And this is where we would pull out our set count, and we could do all the logic in there. But personally, I like to do a separate function. So something like this, function handle subtract. And what we're going to do in here is we're going to use this set count function. Remember, that's the setter function that we're going to use to update our count that's set. So we have set count, and you might think that you can just do like count -1, but this is actually a destructive way of doing this, and it's not suggested by the React docs. The non-destructive way, and the way you should be doing it in your apps, is in this set count function, we can take in the previous state, just like this, and use an arrow function to update it. So we have the previous state, And this is going to do an inline return of previous state plus 1. Well, for this is a subtraction 1, so let's do subtracting 1. And awesome. So now we have a function, handle subtract, that's using the setter function, set count, taking in the previous state, which is at this time 100, and it's going to return 100 minus 1 being 99, and then set our state to that amount. So now when this function is called, it's going to set it to 99. So let's set this up now. So on click, we are going to handle subtract. And let's test this in our app. Awesome. So if you click minus, you can see that it is subtracting from our number, and then our state's being updated in the dev tools. So now, right now it's 85. So let's go ahead and do the same thing pretty much for adding a number. So we're going to call this one handle add, and we're taking the previous state and returning the previous state plus 1 in this. And now we need to link that function. So on click, we're going to handle add. All right, and now if we test it, you can see it is adding to our function. Our state actually is being updated because of the function that we created here. So now we have state set up. We have ways to update that state non-destructively, and it's being rendered in our UI. So if this was maybe a first name for a user, you'd be able to update that similarly and put that onto your website. And that's what makes React so cool. It re-renders your components whenever you're doing changes like this in ways that regular JavaScript can't really do. So let me know if you guys have any more questions in the comments below. I'd love to answer some. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and have a great day.